Hi, Siri. I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm going to go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's a Wednesday. We'll have JC. We'll have Dr. Peter Indelicato, former Gator team doctor, also the team doctor of the Dolphins. If you got any ailments going on, maybe Dr. Pete can cure you on the podcast. JC, good morning. You're on the Technical Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. What are you wearing today? A Red Wings hat and the Cornell Big Red?
Absolutely.
At least you're color coordinated.
It's 42 degrees outside. I'm right in the middle of it, QB.
Wow.
Speaking of Dr. Pete, so I'm curious if he's going to be in Kansas City when the wind chill hits like -9.
Why would he be there?
Well, he's the team doctor. I don't know.
He was the team doctor of the Dolphins like 15, 20 years ago.
Is he still the team doctor?
No, he's been retired for years.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't see how he could be the team doctor when I see him running around out here on the golf course. Good for Dr. Pete. Congratulations on your retirement. He's
been retired for a long time.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right. Well, the Dolphins need a doctor right about now. They're hurting. I think their season ends. I think it's all over. What a fade that would be should they lose. QB, last night in basketball, I know you're a big basketball guy. You love it. Maybe even more than football. The number 1 and number 2 teams last night go crashing down in college basketball. And it just goes to show you and everybody who follows basketball that rankings are irrelevant right now in January, of course, but conference play is a different animal when it comes. And this is what I like about college basketball is once they get into the conference play. We saw Iowa State beat Houston in a low-scoring game, and then we saw the Big Red under Fred Hoiberg, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, finally do something exciting with their athletic department, doing something athletically for the first time since 1995, beating the Purdue Boilermakers. So, they shot like 100% from the floor. It was amazing how good they were. And I'm happy for the University of Nebraska. So that's exciting.
It's college basketball is so strange because the majority of the time, the home team wins. It makes no sense.
It does.
Because honestly, I've always said this, the baskets are 10 feet tall on both, whether you play at home or away. The court's the same size. The three-point line is the same size. How crowds affect college basketball just blows me away because you don't have a snap count. Nobody's jumping off sides.
Maybe the visual's different. Maybe the noise is
different.
No,
it is different. I'll tell you, when in high school, nothing's worse than when in high school and college, it's hard to compare, but you play in these little gyms. You have it's a great site for shooting because of the background. But then when you get in the playoffs and you have to go and play in these little coliseums, these little small, the depth perception was terrible. But it's very weird, college basketball is to me. Dan says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law. Unfortunately, most people won't get to watch the KC Miami game because it's on stupid Peacock.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. NFL's stupid. I think that's just a joke. Nobody cares about another login and another two-factor authentication. I'm so sick of that. Eventually, that stuff's going to fade away. They were begging, Collinsworth and Tarico were begging people to just go ahead and get their subscription dialed up last Sunday night because they knew people aren't going to wait and do it next Saturday night. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I'm going to be in a place where it's not going to matter because it's already going to be on. I don't have to sit around the house trying to figure out my password, what it was, and whether or not it works. But QB, I'll tell you what I'm not wild about. I am not wild about the fact, since we're talking about television for a second, that because of the SEC network, which I do think is great. I love the SEC network. I love everything about it. But the Gators are playing at 9 o'clock tonight. And I'm not fired up about that. On a Wednesday night, you're traveling on the road, you're playing in a hostile environment on the road in the conference, and you're playing at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. These kids are going to sit around the damn hotel all day long. What they should do is they have two SEC channels. They have the SEC primary channel and the alternate channel. They can show them both at the same time. Get the Tennessee-Mississippi State game on at 7. Get the Florida-Ole Miss game on at 7. Let us watch the damn game, for God's sakes. I mean, they're going to ask you to stay up till 11 o'clock, QB. You can't do that. It's way past your bedtime. You can't handle that. You got to work.
Well, JC, if you go to the SEC Plus, that means people have to pay for that and download it and all that crap.
No, SEC alternate. I didn't think I don't. Look, here's the thing. Nobody's going to want to sit around at 10:30 at night watching commercials and hoping their team wins. And maybe they are. Maybe the young kids will, and that's fine. But old dudes like us, forget it. Now, maybe we'll stay up and watch if it's a good game. But if it's a 9-point game or if they're down by 11 or up, I don't know. To me, it's just ridiculous. You're asking these kids and coaches to sit around the hotel till 8 o'clock or till 6 o'clock before they can get ready to play a basketball game. I think it's asinine. But at any rate, that's how it works. Can't wait next year when Stanford plays at NC State. Okay, that's going to be a beauty, and it's just.
They're going to play multiple games on the East Coast before they fly back. I'm sure,
no doubt.
On YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Rod asks, "Do I think Mike Vrabel gets another job, or does he go back to the Patriots as a DC?" I think he's a good coach. I like Mike Vrabel. He's a guy that I'd like to play for. I was surprised the Titans fired him.
He's got a good record. I mean, he's had a bad year, sure, but he's got a pretty good record. They couldn't figure out the quarterback position. I wouldn't be shocked, QB, absolutely not, if he ends up back in New England, not as a coordinator, but maybe as the head coach. And think about this, QB. Kraft has not seen the playoffs in 5 years, I think it is now. And I don't think at his age, he's willing to wait another 5 years with the way Belichick drafts. He's not. Belichick doesn't need to rebuild anything. He needs to go where there's somebody there waiting for him, and that would be the LA Chargers. That's where it would be for me. And I think if he's not going there, Harbaugh might go there. Harbaugh might actually go to Vegas. Harbaugh's not coming back to Michigan. I can tell you that. That's what I believe. And I think good for him. He's done his. What more is there for him to do at Michigan at this point? He's beaten Ohio State 3 years in a row. He's won the national title. He's tired of dealing with all the NCAA this and the NCAA that. He's on his way to Vegas. And if it's not Vegas, it might be LA. And then I think Belichick should look at doing one or the other as well, because New England is bad. And Belichick's going to have another bad year if he stays. So I don't see that happening as well. So I think you're going to see some movement here soon. And as far as Vrabel goes, I wouldn't be shocked at all. Hall of Fame guy, great Patriot. He should probably end up back in New England. If I'm Kraft, that's who I'm calling tomorrow if Belichick doesn't want to stick around.
Yeah, for sure. Tighten our text line, Eric from Tampa, this is regarding Florida victorious NIL. He says, too many people are texting your show, do not understand the difference in the two of giving money to NIL and to the UAE. He says, for those who just want to complain about Napier, can we ask if they are members of Florida victorious? We may not all have the big money guys like other schools, but 450,000 alumni at $15 per month is $6.75 million per month in NIL.
Get your check in the mail, QB, $15.
Yeah. So the problem is that of those 450,000 alumni, what do you think? 50,000 of them care about football or sports?
Well, lately, with the way they admit people these days, and from wherever the hell they're coming from, I'd say it's probably more than 50,000 that don't care. But who knows? It's just who knows, QB. I don't know this whole issue. Here's what Strickland says yesterday. He says that you need to be patient. Gator fans need to be patient. Patience. The reality is that in my opinion, the only way Billy Napier leaves before the expiration of his contract is if his boss leaves first. And that's probably not going to happen. He's got some capital projects on the slate. Unless Strickland leaves, Napier's here. You guys, they're not going to pay off another contract. They just are. I'm sorry. I don't care if they go 4-8 next year. They're not going to pay it off. That's just what I believe. I could be wrong, but I don't think they're interested in paying off another contract. I mean, hell no. And again, unless Strickland leaves first, you got Billy till the end of the contract. Sorry.
Josh in Mississippi on the Titan R text line says, I think the moves Coach Napier is making in recruiting the portal and with coaches will pay dividends this next season. A lot of changes on other teams' rosters as well. We have a shot. Yeah, I mean, it's a crap shoot right now. Daryl says on the Titan R text line, he was watching the Houston Texans over the weekend. Do you know why Damian Pierce is only playing special teams now? I do not know that. I do know that the Singletary kid's taking over as their number one ball carrier. I don't know. I guess Pierce played on special teams. Maybe he's hurt. I'm not sure. Maybe somebody can let us know. But Devin Singletary is a really good back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now we got everybody blasting.
I don't know what that's got to do with Scott Strickland, but yeah, okay.
No, it doesn't. You brought up Scott Strickland. I'm talking about what the text said.
I think that's what we heard yesterday from your AD, dude. I mean, it's worth repeating.
Where did you hear it? Where did you hear him?
It was on 3, I think it was. It pops up on my phone. This thing on my phone, I'm telling you, QB, I get these little things that drop down from here. It's like the worldwide leader of information. I'm walking around with a supercomputer, just like you are. I just have. It seems to be that I have these little notifications that come down. That's what came down yesterday. Scott Strickland says we better be patient with Billy, and I believe what that's saying is that he's going to be.
What do you think? What if you were the athletic director? What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to protect my guy. I mean, he's my. Yeah, this is my future. I mean, that's my future. Billy Napier is Scott Strickland.
Well, he hired him, so he is going to say be patient.
Correct.
I mean, have you ever heard an athletic director go on a public show and go, we're getting ready to run him out of town?
No, not at all. But he's got to say something, sure. But the fact that he felt like he needed to say something is the issue, QB. It's not whether or not he's going to say what he said. It's the fact that he felt like he had to say it. And again, Billy's not going anywhere with that money still left on the table. They're not going to pay that off, dude. If you're worried about money paying for players, what are you worried about with this coach? He's still owed what, 20-something, $8 million. I mean, they're not going to pay that off. You got him. He's your guy for the next 3 years. That's just the way it is.
Yep, for sure.
I don't know.
1966 HBC beers available at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, Gator Games in the O-Dome, select retail outlets. That's crisp American Lager, 1966 HBC beer.
Maybe somebody can tell me I'm wrong. I'd like to hear if they think I'm wrong, but yeah, that's your guy. So anyway, having said that, basketball tonight, 9:00. Get your caffeine out.
Well, it's 8:00 there, JC.
Yeah, but you're not there, QB. You're in Florida. So for QB tonight, he needs to take a nap. He needs to get that peanut butter and jelly sandwich down so it doesn't put him to sleep at 8:30. And then maybe you'll be able to stay up and watch it.
I'll be up and watch it. I'll watch it all. Brad has a question on Facebook Live. Any comments on Tiger parting ways with Nike? What do you think about that, JC?
I just think Tiger does whatever he wants, and maybe Tiger. It's been what, 20-something years with that company. So
27, I think.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you just gotta let it go. He's got other things going on. Maybe his kid is an Adidas guy. Maybe his kid Charlie wants to wear, something else. So,
well, the Nike, the most current Nike golf line clothing is not very good, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not good. Nike stock is not good either right now, in case you were wondering.
JC, I got a question about this hoodie you're wearing. Is it got a hood on the back?
Yeah. See that? Look at that.
Okay. Now I see. It was the white strings had me fooled. I couldn't figure out why you had them like behind you.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah. Go Big Red. I'm not a big Ivy League guy at all, but
I think they won last night. I think they beat Columbia in basketball.
Pretty good in basketball. Yeah, they've had a pretty good run in basketball. I mean, keep up with that for sure. I'm just thrilled that Nebraska did something athletically that wasn't a woman's sport that was exciting on the men's side of things. And, they're great in volleyball. We know that. But how about that basketball team? Dude, they shot the lights out last night. They couldn't miss. And I think that was fun to watch for for folks. Purdue's a great team. They were number one. Surprised that Houston only scored 52 points. But this is what happens, man. You're traveling through these storms and you're staying in these hotels and it's freezing cold. These kids from Houston, they don't want to be in Iowa. Kimmy, that was the easiest bet on the board.
You act like they stand outside getting on a plane or a bus. I mean, they have police escorts to and from everywhere they go. Yeah, they go stay in nice hotels.
Yeah.
They eat really good meals in these big ballrooms. They're not in a Motel 6.
They don't want to be there any more than you wanted to be in Missouri. And the bottom line is that environmental factors do factor into all of your calculations in the middle of the week when you're looking at basketball games. It just does. You were talking about home court advantage a minute ago, so there.
No, I just think it's fascinating. College basketball, home court advantage.
It's tough, man. You think Chris Harry wants to be in Oxford, Mississippi?
Oh, I guarantee you, Chris Harry was down at the Square last night.
Yeah,
having a blast.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I mean, I would love that gig. I would love that gig right now. I mean, good for him. And you got a little team to follow now. It looks like they're going to be exciting this year. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm just making light of it all. I think it's great. Hopefully they'll play well tonight. And the most important thing is how they play, really. And QB, you don't want to start off 0-2 in the league. So I think it's a big game. I mean, for both teams. Ole Miss lost the other night, got buried at Tennessee. So it's a big game.
On the Titan MR text line from William, he says, what are you guys' thoughts on the Jaguars cleaning house on defense?
Yeah. I can't say I was surprised that Mike Caldwell got booted. You got to do something. I think Doug felt like Shad probably called him in the office on Monday and said, what are we going to do about this? We can't have this. We're about to build a new stadium. We've got to be better. And so Doug said, well, I'm going to make some changes. I don't know. I mean, what do you think, QB? It was a house cleaning on that side of the ball. And, everybody walking out the door said the problems are still here. The solutions are leaving. That was the quote. And I think there is some acrimony and some bitterness there in that coach's room. And I don't know why, but I think when you lose 5 out of 6, people are going to get fingers pointed at them, like this. So I think it's terrible. I was ready to sell my tickets to Cleveland Brown fans for $500 per at least. It was going to help me pay off American Express, that I used in Pasadena. Now I got to find out somewhere else. Those jerks. They were playing the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns are going to travel like the Steeler fans. And they're crazy in Cleveland. You know this, QB. You told me once a long time ago, you don't remember, but you said the Cleveland Brown fans are some of the best fans in the NFL, and they will do it. They'll go anywhere. They're everywhere, Cleveland Brown fans. They just haven't had a reason. Steeler fans are that way. Buffalo fans are that way. 49er fans are definitely that way. Dallas fans are that way. So anyway, they blew it. They blew it for me. Way to go, Jags. You're in my S list.
Just go burn all that new Jaguar gear you bought. Another text on the Titan MR text line from Bob. He says, what are your thoughts on Hugh Freeze stating that he's going back to calling plays? Doesn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah, I mean,
coaches that call plays their entire career are going to call plays.
So tell me why he didn't to begin with.
Because he got hired and he hired some guy to come in and call plays for him for whatever reason, because he called plays at Liberty, he called plays at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And guys get jobs because of what they've done in the past. Is that a correct statement? Yeah. So why anybody ever turns that over to somebody else,
I don't know.
It makes no freaking sense to me.
No.
None.
I don't know. I mean, why did Mike McCarthy have that kid from Boise State call Kellen Moore call plays? What? Why? I mean,
yeah.
So anyway, he's back now doing it himself. I just don't understand why it takes, failure at some sort of level. It seems like a big waste of time. Do what you do. And so I guess we're seeing that more now. And I think it's right. I agree with it. Auburn went 6-7 too, folks. So don't feel bad. Well, feel bad, but just know that you got company. 6-7, Auburn Tigers. Another embarrassment in the postseason for the SEC is the Auburn Tigers. I mean, once again, Maryland runs them out of the yard.
Chad says ETN should transfer from the Jags.
Well, there's paperwork that disallows those things unless they agree to.
All he could do is go in and say, "Please trade me."
Yeah, that's it.
And they still may not happen.
You think Derrick Henry might look at Jacksonville? You think they may look at him rather? I mean, he's 30 years old. He's got a little tread left on the tires there.
I like Derrick Henry a lot.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think he's done playing football. I mean, the Jags could be a good spot for him, but just because he's from Yulee, that has nothing to do with the NFL. That's dumb. That's
true.
I wouldn't care if he played at Raines High School there
No,
in Jacksonville.
It would just be cool for the fans. I mean, I agree, but it'd just be cool. Yeah, it'd just be cool.
Natasha said, "Did you see Sam McCorkle won Ivy League Coach of the Year? Love seeing Gator. I did not know that, but Sam was a great guy. He took over for Buddy Tevens when he passed away, and very good football coach. And congratulations to him. I did not know that." Greg says Billy got hired at Florida because he had a powerhouse offense at Louisiana. Well, I mean, he ran a good program, and there's a lot of excited people when he was hired here. I will tell you that. Now nobody's excited. So. All right, JC, answer this. Anna's on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says we are looking at a decent chance of 3 straight losing seasons under Napier. If we keep him after that run, I will be shocked.
Well, and I see what she's saying, and I understand it, but I'm telling you, man, economics is going to take over here. Florida is not paying off that contract. Maybe unless we get to a point where it's unbearable. But I don't think that's the case. I think the beginning part of next season, the schedule, if you look at it hard, is doable, especially with a quarterback who's returning, right? And you're going to hope that this defensive coordinator, who has just, I think, been brought in to assist, is going to do a good job. And and they're going to get better on the defensive side of the ball. That, to me, is the biggest key for the Gators is stopping people right now at this point. I think they can put points on the board. I'm not as concerned with that. But defensively, if they don't get better, forget it. And so he knows this, and I think he's trying to make the moves that it's going to help the team do get better. It's all about the players, of course, but LJ McCray.
Did Quinshon Junkins sign with Ohio State?
That's been a rumor that he's about to. He hasn't yet, but they think he is. And
because I was told that it was a done deal that he was going to go to Auburn because of the money they were offering him there, and he's from Alabama. But
he doesn't want to lose. He doesn't want to lose. I think he's ready to win. He thinks Ohio State's that opportunity. I think the biggest question is, will Jim Harbaugh be at Michigan? And I think the answer will be no. But I could be wrong about that as well. But again, what has Jim Harbaugh got to do now at Michigan? He's done everything he needs to do. He's done what he came to do, and we still don't know what the investigation that the NCAA has continuing to go on. We don't know those results yet. We don't know what they're going to come out with. Not that that's something that I think fans are worried about now. That the Michigan fans are now thinking about how many shirts am I going to buy, how many T-shirts, how many sweaters, how much memorabilia, how am I going to pay off this American Express and Visa? That's what they're thinking about right now. They're going to order the videos from Sports Illustrated. They're going to get the magazines. They're going to get the big framed pictures now. They're going to show Harbaugh with his this thing going on. And good for them. They haven't had it in 27 years. I'm not a fan of them at all. Don't like them. But I respect what they've done this year. You can't deny 15-0. They beat Ohio State. They came back and beat Alabama, and they just whacked Washington. There was not 1 minute in that game, not one, that I felt Michigan was ever in danger of winning, even though I picked Washington beforehand because I thought the points were good and I thought Michael Penix was going to be something special. I forgot how bad Dylan Johnson was hurt. I forgot how bad Washington was going to get beat on the line of scrimmage, just like Michigan did. That's where they won the game. And McCarthy, give him credit. The biggest play in that game for me maybe could have been that 3rd and 12 when he was in his end zone and he ran 20 yards to get the first down in the third quarter when it was a 7-point game. But not at one point did I think Washington was going to win that game while it was being played, because you could just see the physical nature that Michigan brought. So Michigan fans, buy your pictures, frame your posters, get all that out of the way, get ready. Now you're going to be the team that everybody's shooting at.
Radware is a family-owned business that prides itself in excellent customer service while providing quality and affordable promotional products and customized apparel. Got JC for a few more minutes, then we'll have Dr. Pete Indelicato, the former Gator team doctor. If you got any ailments or whatever, let us know. We'll fix you on the podcast.
Cortisone shot.
Cortisone that shot. Always works.
It fixed my knee and my
Vicodin or any of that kind of stuff. Yeah. It fixed your knee, JC?
Oh, my knee. Look at this. Look at this. I am going back, up and down. Look at this. See that? You see that? Look.
You couldn't do that before?
Well, it hurt, and now my arthritis is they stuck a needle about this long right through my thumb, and now my golf swing now I'm all loosey goosey. It's unbelievable. Cortisone's the greatest thing they ever invented, and it's cheap, so it's better than surgery. Tell Dr. Pete I appreciate them figuring that out. And went over there to the orthopedic center, and they shot me up. Love it. I got a shot, QB.
You're like a pro athlete now, JC, getting shots before every sporting event. Michael on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, wants to know, when was the last time JC had a drink?
Right here. I'm drinking this.
I think you're talking about an alcoholic beverage, because remember you said you weren't drinking anymore?
Yeah, I've shut it down since December. Since the glorious win on December the 1st over Georgia, I've kind of shut down the alcohol consumption. Now, I did kind of partake a little bit at the Rose Bowl, but hardly anything compared to what I'm used to. And
how much did a beer cost at the Rose Bowl?
$20 for a 24-ounce beer. It's about this big. $20, you could get the High Noons. You could get all the light beer you wanted. You could get some California local brands. It was wonderful. I tell you, the Rose Bowl was a great trip, but, man, it's expensive. It was a lot of effort. But I'll tell you, $20 you drink one per half. That's all you need. I just feel like, I'm sleeping better. I don't need this beer, man. I'm tired of beer. And so I'm just kind of shutting it down a bit. Had partaked on New Year's Eve too on the 38th floor of some hotel in downtown LA. But I feel great. But thank you for asking. It's cheaper too, saving a lot of money.
JC, Anna's got a question before we get you out of here on YouTube.
All right,
brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Says, JC, do you believe that Billy Napier is a top 5 coach in the SEC? You got Saban, Smart, Sarkisian, Brian Kelly, Kiffin, Stoops, Freeze, Drinkwitz. I don't think he's in the top 10.
Yeah. Well, right now his record wouldn't put him in the top of anything.
Right.
So Anna, I think what you're really saying is, does he have the potential, or asking, does he have the potential maybe to be a top 5? And I don't know the answer yet, because I've seen nothing that would tell me otherwise. So, we're hoping that he wins. I think we're hoping.
To be a top 5 coach in the SEC in today's world with 16 teams in the league is tough.
Yeah, you're top 1/3 there, and I don't know. I mean, Drinkwitz had a great year. He really did. He had a great year. Give him credit. Kirby Smart is Kirby Smart. And I don't know. I think Brian Kelly is a really good coach at LSU. And I think the guy at Tennessee is okay, but Vanderbilt's a joke. I don't know why they're still in the conference. South Carolina can't get out of its own way. Arkansas is trying to figure it out. Pittman's got one more year to do that. There's some problems in this league as well. I mean, it's not all pennies from heaven, but I think next year, man, it's going to be so fascinating to see Texas, Oklahoma, a 16-team playoff, and a new defending national champion out of the Big Ten that everybody's going to be shooting for. So,
all right, JC, before we get out of here, this day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. In 2011, on this date, JC,
the
13th BCS National Championship at Phoenix Stadium out in Arizona.
Yeah. Oh, what a game.
You know who won that game?
In 2011, I'm going to say it was Alabama over Clemson.
No, it would be the Auburn Tigers beat Oregon 22-19.
In Phoenix. Okay, yeah. All right. Okay, well, that Alabama
was that Cam Newton? That was Cam Newton,
it had to be. It absolutely had to be. And guess what happened in 2012? Gene Chizik won 4 games. Now I remember. I also remember Kenyon Drake running it all the way past Clemson's defense in that same stadium a few years later. So, Auburn, they've just been a dysfunctional program. If you feel bad about yourself, just think about Auburn and you'll feel better. So
Okay, that's the quote of the day. All right, JC, we will see you on Friday with our Peachland Dental NFL picks. Have a good day.
adios.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Take a quick time out. Come back. We'll be joined by Dr. Indelicato, talking a little sports injuries, things of that nature. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Duffield Home Improvements for your window, siding, and roofing needs. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Silverback Concrete is a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structures with unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete, you stand on it, we stand by it. We're going to go back to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. We're going to be joined by Dr. Peter Indelicato, longtime team doctor of the Gators, also the Dolphins. He's in the Sports Medicine Hall of Fame. This guy has done it all around the world. Dr. Pete, welcome to the program. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me, Shane. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. First of all, you grew up in New York. Just tell us briefly, I've always wondered this as well. You were a longtime team doc for the Gators, and then you were the team doc for a while for the Dolphins. How does someone become the team doctor of a major football program and an NFL team?
Just a lot of good luck being in the right place at the right time, the way it used to be. Today, it's a little bit different. There's a lot more. It's a lot more complex now as to who gets to be selected to be the team physician. It depends on a lot of variables. At major universities, usually there's a college of medicine associated with that university, and now there are sports medicine departments in that college of medicine, and usually the head of that division of sports medicine is the head team physician for the university.
We got a I'm sorry, Doc. Go ahead.
No, it's a position that's envied by a lot of people because it's got such great opportunities associated with it. So it's more sought after and more competitive, much more competitive now to be a team physician than it was back in the 70s when I was asked to do it here at the University of Florida.
Matt on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, wants me to ask you, your opinion on the advancements in orthopedic surgery that have allowed earlier returns to the sport, like the tightrope injury or the procedure, all inside ACL, and the speed bridge for Achilles and rotator cuff.
Yeah, I mean, those are 3 or 4 great examples of how technology has really skyrocketed the specialty of sports medicine ahead. There are major, large international orthopedic companies out there that are spending millions of dollars in researching, and the end product of those research projects result in things like the tightrope and the all inside ACL technique. So that when you look at surgical techniques today compared to even 15 or 20 years ago, they're much more refined, less invasive, and therefore you can jumpstart the recovery a lot quicker than you could, 10 or 15 years ago.
So having said all that, we all saw about Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles first game with the Jets. And then he went out to California to have some kind of procedure done out there, some new wave stuff, I guess. And he was talking about coming back. And we all know we've never seen anybody come back from an Achilles injury the same season. If the Jets had been in the hunt for the playoffs, Dr. Pete, do you think Aaron Rodgers would have been able to play?
Yes, I'm actually good friends with the surgeon in Los Angeles that did his surgery, and we kept in pretty good contact over the course of Aaron's recovery. And he sent me video clips of what Aaron was doing in terms of his rehabilitation. And there's no doubt in my mind that, if the Jets season extended another couple of weeks, he could have come back. Now, whether he would come back, that's, a lot of variables that enter into that decision. But from an orthopedic, from a musculoskeletal standpoint, I think he could have come back.
Matt's question here on Facebook, brought to you by Melton Law. He's been having inflammation and stiffness in his elbows and knees. Is that a sign of early arthritis?
Who's that? You?
Well, I do too, but Matt, I don't know where Matt lives, but it's me as well.
Not necessarily. An inflammatory process around a knee or a joint doesn't automatically herald in the inevitable onset of osteoarthritis. So I wouldn't get too focused on the fact that the end product is going to be arthritis, just with an inflammatory issue going on in the area.
So, Dr. Pete, my question to you also is it more difficult in today's world to come back quicker from an ACL tear or the Achilles tear?
The ACL tear, without a doubt. And I'll tell you why, Shane. Because as we've grown to learn more about the injury, we're realizing that the psychological, believe it or not, the psychology of the athlete that has the injury plays a very important role on how quickly that athlete gets back, or if they ever come back. And what do we mean by that? Well, we're learning more about the fear of re-injury and how that has a significant effect on an athlete's aggressiveness or lack thereof to their rehabilitation program. And one of the, if not the major reason why somebody doesn't come back and play after an ACL injury, surgical repair, is not the fact that the surgery didn't go well, but the athlete's fear of getting hurt just causes them to think twice about going back and playing. So we're paying a lot more attention now, not only to the surgical technique, but the sort of the emotional makeup of the athlete that it's being done on, and dealing with both those issues on parallel lines.
Gotcha. Dan out in Texas on Facebook Live wants to know the recovery pools, tables, chambers, etc. What are good doctor's thoughts on all those things players have now versus a trash can of ice back in the day?
I mean, it's light years better. There's so much more science associated with rehabilitation today than there were years ago. You know, the ice tank and the heat and those types of things. They're important, but boy, they're a lot more science-based activities that one can perform during the recovery phase that lead to a more successful outcome.
Let's see. There's another question here from John on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law. Says, thanks for being on, Doc. What do you think of all the injuries that have affected the Dolphins this year?
The law of averages is the law of averages. Everything, if you look at any given year, you start to run around like your hair's on fire, like something horrible is happening. But if you look at the injury spectrum over, let's say, a 10-year period of time, it basically has stayed the same. That doesn't mean that at any given year you have to deal with injuries more critical than the previous year, but you have to look at the law of averages. That's basically what is monitored over a 10 to 15-year period of time.
Tim's question says, I had a putty plat procedure on my non-throwing shoulder. Does that pin remain stable for lifetime if not re-injured?
The answer is yes. If it's done technically the right way, that metal that's in there should stay there forever.
Andy's question for you was, who was your best patient in terms of recovering from an injury or ailment at Florida?
Wow. I'd have to think about that. I don't know. Let me come back to that one.
Okay. All right. And then on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, Marshall says, I remember Wayne Peace having an orthopedic back surgery in 1980 and then back during the season. Was that your surgery? Any thoughts on that? Do you remember that, Dr. Pete?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, no, we have the benefit of having some great surgeons here in different areas at the University of Florida. And a neurosurgeon, quite now a famous neurosurgeon, Dr. Arthur Day, was the one that performed that microdiscectomy on Wayne Peace back in the early 80s. So even though I was in the operating room, Dr. Day was the one that pioneered that procedure and got Wayne back fairly quickly.
On the Titan Mar text line, Jackson says he's a huge Miami Dolphins fan. How many times did you operate on Dan Marino?
2.5 times. Achilles, his knee, and his hip.
And so how's it 2.5? That'd be 3 surgeries, right?
Well, on a half of one, I was basically just holding retractors.
Okay. Matt, there's a good question here on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Dr. Pete, what is your thoughts on the effect of artificial turf on rates of injuries when the majority of the fields are natural grass? I guess, you see more injuries on turf?
Yes, absolutely. And not only, there's 4 or 5 different artificial turfs out there, and some of them are more risky than others. And it's not only the turf, but how long it's been laid in place that affects the risk of injury. So a artificial surface that's in place maybe 5-8 years has a different injury rate than one that's put down the first year. And the NFL knows all this data.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they do.
They know
it. This is a good question here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. How rare was Damar Hamlin's heart issue, And what are the chances it could happen again?
Well, fortunately, it's very, very rare. And the odds that it can happen again to him is very, very rare. It's it's thank God that they rehearse on a mandatory regular basis how the health team staff would deal with that kind of an issue. It's required. I know here at the University of Florida, they actually rehearse it at least once or twice a year with EMT people, so that when, God forbid, it ever happens, you know what your role is.
Sarah on the Titan MR text line says, Dr. Pete, what made you become an ACL specialist instead of working on shoulders or things like that?
Actually, I do all that. I did shoulders and elbows and ankles and feet, but because of the frequency of ACL injuries and the fact that it could have meant or the end of a career, it got a lot of attention, mine included. A lot of my research here at the university was focused on ACL surgery and alternative methods to facilitate both the technique and the recovery. It was a challenge that I became attracted to early on in my training.
Question on the Titan MR text line from Jonathan. He says, why do you think there's been a record amount of injuries in the NFL the last 2 years?
Well, like I said earlier, if you look at a 10-year period, it's the law of averages. It's going to make itself even out, I would think, knowing what I know about it. Having just said that, though, despite the rule changes that try and prevent significant, obvious injuries, there's still more than a lot occur, and probably more than need to occur. The old adage, big guys flying around faster than ever, the mass times velocity time issues. I remember somebody told me 30 years ago, your knees weren't meant to play basketball or football. They're just not designed to play that sport very well. So you have to.
Yeah. And I don't think people realize until you're like on field level how violent the game of football is. I mean, it's somewhat scary, and I forget about it. And I remember when I had to go down for the Florida State game at the beginning of the game because they had announced me for the SEC thing or whatever. Just the physicality, you don't get that sitting in the stands or anywhere or on TV. It's a violent sport, and it's like a car crash on every play, pretty much.
Yeah, and the airbags, there's no airbags.
None. Here's a good question on Facebook Live brought to you by Mellon Law from Nor. He says, Dr. Pete, what do you think about Coach Prime Deion Sanders' condition, the blood clots in his legs and toes being amputated?
Yeah, I mean, from what I read in the media, it's he's probably got some vascular. I'm sure he's got some vascular issues going on in the arteries of his legs that marginalize the amount of blood flow to his toes. And without a robust blood supply, your tissues have a tendency to not do well. I don't think he's a diabetic because that's very common in somebody that has diabetes. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's also a hereditary thing. I think siblings of his also struggle with that same issue, but it's definitely a vascular related problem.
Talk briefly about, you were inducted into the Sports Medicine Hall of Fame. You also most recently was awarded the Dr. Andrews Excellence in Football Award. What did that mean to you, Doc?
That was first a great surprise. The last thing, I was sitting in the audience of a meeting that I was participating in, and all of a sudden, I looked up at the screen, and my picture was there, and Dr. Andrews got up and made that announcement. So I was totally surprised by it. I've been good friends with Dr. Andrews for the last 40 years. In fact, last week, I was invited to attend his retirement ceremony in Birmingham. And as you would expect, it was a cast of 1,000 great athletes there that he's had the good fortune to operate on. Charles Barkley, John Smoltz, bunch of Roger Clemens. It was a great event. If I could say this, he is definitely the crown jewel of sports medicine over the past 40 years. He's mentored so many different younger surgeons, and he deserves all the accolades he gets.
Dan has a funny question here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mental Law. Any interesting stories you can share as far as the most unusual way a patient got hurt?
No.
No. No, you want to skip that question?
Yeah,
Yeah.
HIPAA. There's a HIPAA law.
Mr. Biz says, Dr. Pete worked on my knee 45 years ago. Hopefully it's still working well.
Well, I got lucky. Every once in a while, I get lucky and I get a good outcome.
Yeah, for sure. We got one more and we'll get you out of here, Doc. We appreciate your time today. This is Bill on the Titan MR text line. Dr. Pete, what are you doing now to spend time during your retirement?
Well, the most exciting thing is I play golf with the head ball coach once or twice a week if I can. The other thing is I still am pretty active, being invited around, giving talks about how to be a team physician and what are the pitfalls to avoid and some keys to succeed. Actually, I was in Italy last 2 weeks ago talking to a bunch of orthopedic surgeons in Europe that also are team physicians. So I spent a lot of time lecturing, giving back to the profession as much as I can because it's been so good to me.
Tim's question is, how's the head ball coach's back? Is it his back, his hip, or what ailments? I mean, coach has ailments like we all do, but is it his hip or his back you think that bothers him the most?
I think it's a combination of both those things. But don't be mistaken. He still is a heck of an athlete, particularly when it comes to golf.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's a piece of work. I love him.
He is a unique character. There's no question about that. Well, Dr. Pete, we appreciate your time joining our program. We'll get you back on maybe when football season rolls around. But appreciate your time. Hit them straight. Don't take too much of Coach Spurrier's money.
All right, Coach. All right, Shane. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. I'll see you around campus, as they say.
All right, that's Dr. Pete Indelicato. Join us on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Before we get out of here, Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Gators tonight against the Ole Miss Rebels, hopefully for a win. We'll recap it tomorrow. Take care, folks.